Good morning, CSL Carlsbad. Thank you for joining me Facebook Live. So on the behalf of all the practitioners and ministers at CSL Carlsbad, we just want to let you know that we are thinking about you and that we are loving you. And I am grateful to be of service to you today, to give you a message and to spiritually feed you. And also, we are praying for you. We are praying for your families. We are praying for our country. We're praying for our nation. And we're praying for the world. So we know that this is going to fly by with ease and grace, and that we are living in the mystery of the unknown. But through love and through our connection with Spirit, everything will work out perfectly. Now, I know that you're at home right now and you're probably in your pajamas with a cup of coffee, right? So that's half full. That's a glass half full. And I've got a pretty top on, my pajamas and my slippers on. Okay, so let's start with the spiritual mind treatment. I invite you to close your eyes and to go within, as I recognize there is that one power and that one presence and that one essence of love. And this is the interconnection of every single human being in the world. And I know that I am the light of God. That joyous expression. And I know that each and every person here, there's a divine light that lives within you that is the perfect expression of God, the perfect expression of wholeness. And I know during this time of uncharted territory, the divine spirit is guiding us and directing us in every single way. We are God maintained and we are God sustained. For I know that there's something beautiful that is happening in the world today. There is a consciousness that is expanding, a love of the hearts of all people and of all humanity. And I am grateful for this truth as I release this word into the law of mind, knowing that it is good, and it is so. And so it is. Did you say and so it is? Okay, I want to start with gratitude. I found that gratitude video. I posted it on Facebook Live. I hope you saw it. It was so beautiful. So I want to start with that poem, because in a situation like we are today, that we want to not resist it, not move back from it, not be in a place of fear, but we want to embrace it, and we want to give gratitude for it, because there's something that we can learn here. There's something that we can grow from, and we have a new world that is being created, and we are part of that creative process. And when we stay in that presence of love and that presence of light, only beautiful things are created into the world. So this is for gratitude for the coronavirus. Yes. Thank you for shaking us up and showing us we are dependent on something that is so much bigger than what we think. Thank you for making us appreciate the luxury that we lived in, the abundance of products, health, and freedom, and realize we were taking it for granted. Thank you for stopping us to make us see how lost we were in our busyness, not having time for the most basic of things. Thank you for allowing us to put aside our problems that we thought were so important, and showing us what is actually important. Thank you for stopping the transport on the earth. It was begging us to do this. There has been pollution for a long time, but we did not want to listen. Thank you for all the fear. It has been a global disease for years, but not many of us wanted to face it. But now we have to face it and learn how to embrace it with love and support our community. Thank you for this re-evaluation of our lives. Thank you for finally we understand what it means that we are all connected. Thank you for the unity between all of us. We knew the world needed to change. Thank you for helping us to undermine everything and giving us a chance to build a world from the very beginning. The virus is a part of us. It is between us and it is in us. It connected us all physically or energetically. Gratitude supports the immune system, but it also allows us to see things from many perspectives. And it is up to us which perspective that we will choose. The best is to be aware of all perspectives. Be grateful, stay aware, because things will never be the same again. The world is changing now. Oh, it's beautiful by Ria Sokal. I don't know why I'm crying, but I am. It's so beautiful to be connected to spirit, especially at a time like this. And a month ago, I decided I was going to talk about a book called Live Your Best Spiritual Life by Dr. Reverend Bill Salisbury, and he's a friend of mine. He is a senior minister over at the Fullerton CSL Church. And this book truly depicts his personality. You can get this book on Amazon. It's called Live Your Best Spiritual Life by Bill Salisbury. And during this time of a little bit of unrest, knowing that we are living in the mystery of life, this is the time that we want to practice our spiritual life and stay connected to God. And Bill truly has all the spiritual practices for us to do that. And he has this funny personality, a great sense of humor that is shown in this book. And at the end of every single chapter, he does what we believe most in religious science. And what he does is he gives a spiritual mind treatment. And his treatments are absolutely beautiful. And I will share one with you at the end of the service here. So Bill says, we need to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And so not only do you do this in the court of law, but you also do this in your reality, in your life, to always live by the truth principles. And what happens is we need to be coherent. So we are living from fear, but we believe in our spiritual practice in love, then we are not sinking together. And there's a cute story in here about a woman who is driving a car and she's tailgating the car in front of her. And the car in front of her has a choice to either go through the light or to stop at the light because it's turning yellow, and the car decides to stop. Well, she throws a fit. She is pounding on the ceiling. She's banging on the spinning wheel and the driver's wheel, and she's giving him the finger, and she's saying all the cuss words in the book, and all of a sudden she sees a knock at her window. She turns towards the window, and it's a police officer. He takes her out of the car, he handcuffs her, he puts her in the back seat. He checks her out, and he also checks the car out, and then when he's done, he opens the car door, he takes her out of the car and undoes her handcuffs, and he said, "Ma'am, I really thought this was a stolen car. You see, you have a bumper sticker on the back of your car that says, 'Follow me to Sunday school.' What would Jesus do? My boss is a Jewish carpenter. I really thought this car was stolen. I'm very sorry, ma'am." So during this time of spiritual practice and being quarantined in our houses, this is the perfect time to practice love and to practice joy and to practice what we teach in this teaching. So as I was putting together this talk, what dropped into my consciousness was a book that I read a couple of years ago, and it was a book on TED Talks. There was a TED Talk that really stood out in my mind, and it was by the friendly billionaire giant Bill Gates. And he was giving a talk to his billionaire friends. Him and his wife, Melinda and Bill Gates, have a foundation. And that foundation is worth about $40 million. And what I love about Bill Gates is he truly believes that every life matters. And that's so beautiful. And so what he was trying to do is he's trying to eradicate the malaria disease and form a vaccine. So he's in front of all his billionaire friends, And he's telling them that there's more money spent in the United States on finding a drug for bald men. And all the bald men are the rich bald men. And there is hardly any money to find a vaccine for the malaria disease, but there's over 200 million people that can carry the malaria disease at one time. And then this was the turning point of his talk, is when there was a jar on the table, and he took that jar and he took the lid off that jar, and he said, well, here are some mosquitoes that carry malaria, so why should the poor people be the only ones to have this experience? And then in his kind and friendly voice, he said, no, these insects are not infected. From that talk alone, he raised $4.6 billion, and they did come up with a vaccine for the malaria disease, and they expect to eradicate that disease in the year 2050. And so, you know, when you're watching a YouTube video, there's one video and then there's another one that might be similar. There was another TED Talk with Bill Gates, and it was in 2015, and he was talking about education. He's such a brilliant man, but he was also talking about how the United States is not prepared for an epidemic or a pandemic. Like, the next war will not be a nuclear war, it will be a medical war. And it's amazing, like 5 years later, here we are today. And this has given us the opportunity to interconnect and to come together and to live in a world that is changing. And as I looked at Bill Gates and his intelligence and his brilliance and his open heart to really understand that every life matters around the world, not only the rich people or not only the people in the United States, I realized that he is coming from a place of fullness. He is so wealthy, him and his best friend, Warren Buffett, who is the wealthiest person in the world. He's so wealthy that it is pouring over, and he's coming from a place of self-fullness so they can live a life of selflessness. And I was thinking, how can we emulate Bill Gates? I mean, we're not billionaires, but what we can do, because we are spiritual-minded people, we can fill ourselves up with so much love that we come from a place of self-fullness, so we give selflessly, we give love to the world. We start a new epidemic. We start a new pandemic, and this is the love virus. So I'm going to encourage all of us today to think about connecting with yourself and filling yourself up with love, and how many ways you can do that. And we're going to talk about that later. But I want to share with you a story that Bill had in his book on living the best spiritual life. It is a story about a mouse who lives in a farmhouse. And this mouse is peeking through the hole. The farmer's wife and the farmer come home from shopping, and he's wondering what kind of snacks the farmer's wife bought that he could snack on later on. But what happens is the farmer's wife pulls out a mousetrap. And the mouse is so shocked, he goes running into the barnyard. And he looks at the chicken, and the chicken is clucking away and eating away. Chicken, chicken, Mr. Chicken, there's a mousetrap in the house. There's a mousetrap in the house. And the chicken's like, well, I can't do anything about it. Sorry. And then he goes over to the pig. Mr. Pig, there's a mousetrap in the house. There's a mousetrap in the house. And the pig was like, well, I have sympathy for you, but, I don't know what to do. And then he goes over to the cow. Mr. Cow, there's a mousetrap in the house. There's a mousetrap in the house. And the cow's like, well, it's no skin off my nose. So dejectedly, he went back to his house. That night, he heard a big, and he knew something was caught in the mousetrap. So he looked through the hole, and there was the farmer's wife. She came into the kitchen, and in the mousetrap was the tail of a venomous snake. And when the wife came up to the mousetrap, the snake bit the wife. The husband of the farmer's wife took her to the hospital. The next day she came home, and the doctor said, well, she needs plenty of rest and make her some chicken soup. So the farmer got his hatchet out and went to the barn to get the chicken to make chicken soup. And then the farmer's wife continued to become ill. Friends and family came over, and he knew he had to feed them, so he got the pig, and he butchered the pig. And then, unfortunately, the farmer's wife died, and then he had to feed the whole community. So he had the cow slaughtered. And the whole time, the mouse was in the little hole, sadly watching this unfold. And this is almost like the butterfly effect. The flap of a butterfly wing in Brazil sets off the tornado in Texas. That we are all interconnected, that we are all one. And it's important that we do care about our brothers and sisters in countries that are poor, because if it's happening to them, it can happen to us. If it's happening to us, it can happen to somebody in Congress. And I was just spent 10 days with Abraham Hicks, and there are positive thinking people. They think they teach the law of attraction. It was beautiful just being with these people and their affirmative thinking. It felt really, really good to be immersed with them. And I can't help to think, but what is it that we were thinking as a community, not as a community, but as a country, that we would attract this in our lives? And I thought, how did we do this? And the only thing I could think of right now, and I could be right, I could be wrong, who knows, is that we've had this split country for a long time. And we've been throwing fear bombs at each other. And whether it's Republican and Democrat, shaming and blaming. And we know in our spiritual practice that shame, blame, and regret is the lowest level of consciousness that you can live in. And what I know about my spiritual practice is that when I give love, I receive love. When I give joy, I receive joy. It's what you put out comes back to you. So maybe we have been putting out a lot of fear, and the fear has come back to us in the realm of a virus. So I could be right, I could be wrong, I don't know. But what I do know is that the only thing that will heal our world today is love. And so I'm going to ask you to put that essence of love and light out into the world, and stop blaming and shaming our neighbors and our friends and our people who have differences of opinions and different political perspectives. It's okay. We have to love all perspectives in the world. So I'm with Abraham for like 10 days, and no one ever mentions the coronavirus until the last day. The whole time, she's basically teaching us how to stay connected, how to get out of that realm of resistance and stay connected to our inner being. So the last day, someone mentions the word coronavirus. And she basically said, it doesn't matter whether it's coronavirus or anything. Your immunization to anything is your connection with source energy. She calls it source energy. We call it God. It doesn't matter what you call it, your inner being. Your immunization is your connection to source energy. You see, because each person has a divine light within them. Yeah. And that divine light, that divine being within you, sees you as perfect, whole, and complete. That divine light sees you as a magnificent being in the world. And what happens is we are like in our light right here, and then we get into shame, and we kind of separate, and we get into blame, and we separate, and we get into regret, and we get into anger, and we get into hate, and all of a sudden we become separated from who we really are. And it takes just one step at a time, feeling better and better and better, to get connected to that love, that essence that lives within us. So while you are at home, think of things that you love to do. Paint and take a walk by yourself, and write and cook and do an indoor project, because when you are not focusing on the conditions of fear, when you are focusing on love, you're focusing on joy, what happens out of nothing, out of nowhere, you become inspired. So if you're not working right now, if you have fear around money, which a lot of people will have that fear around money, you want to stay in that essence of love. And the more that you stay connected to your inner being, the more that you stay connected to what you love to do, what happens is you are inspired. You're inspired into action. You're inspired to do the right thing. You are in the state of allowing the universal good to come in and bless your life. I know it's tricky business, right? It is tricky business. And also another thing I loved about Abraham is it's exactly what we teach, that we see each other how you really are. We see you in your wholeness. So there was a woman there who had 2 children, and the children were both addicts. And she did everything to try to cure their addiction. She was in the doing mode, doing mode, and nothing was working. And finally, she took Abraham's advice and she decided to see them how their inner being sees them, to see them in a state of wholeness. And as she saw them in a state of wholeness, they continually became better and better and better until they were healed. Yes. So not only are we wanting to see ourselves, how our inner being wants to see us, because that's when we feel really, really good about ourselves, but we also want to see the other people, even if they're not acting how we want them to act. We have to still see that wholeness that lies within them. And so here's a quote from Dr. Bill's book. The true self does not stand around waiting for you to like it before it can like itself. It doesn't wait for accolades or external successes before it can believe in itself. It quietly knows. By Richard Rohr. It knows like it knows like it knows that you are the perfection of spirit. And we come in alignment with that. That means we are saying that we are worthy of all the good, all the love, all the joy, all the abundance, all the innovation that's going to happen right here and right now. There's so much innovation that's going to take place in this time, space, reality. In Dr. Bill's book, he wrote, Marianne Williamson, love is what we're born with. Fear is what we learned here. The spiritual journey is a relinquishment or unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. So I'm going to ask you today to spread the love bug. Spread the love bug to all your family, all your friends. Give them love, because when you give them love, you put out love, you get back love. You put out love, you get back. You put out fear, you get back fear. You put out fear. Be fearless and be loving. Spread the love bug. Be contagious, kind and loving to your friends and your neighbors and everyone around you, because it's all just going to come back to you tenfold when you give of that love, of that love. You give from a place of fullness, not from a place of emptiness where I have to get something. I have to get the toilet paper. You want to come from a place that I have everything I need and I'm so filled up that I want to give it away. And so I want to share with you a spiritual practice that I did when I started my ministerial training. Remember our wonderful, beautiful, bless her heart, Dr. Jane Claypool, who was my teacher. She wanted me to put together a gratitude workshop. And I thought, well, I really can't do that unless I embody gratitude. So what I did, I had myself for 30 days, I would write a gratitude note to a different person every single day. So I made a list of family and friends and colleagues. And I wasn't doing it, I was very clear, I wasn't doing this because I was trying to get love from someone or trying to get approval from someone. I didn't care how people reacted to me. I was doing it for me. I was being selfish. So selfish that I was filling myself up with love. And I wrote letters to people who betrayed me. And I thanked them for betraying me because I learned lessons from them, and I mailed those letters to myself. By the end of that 30 days, I was so filled with light. I was so filled with love. I've never, ever felt so connected to my inner being. It is such a beautiful spiritual practice. So I invite you to do what you love. I invite you to reevaluate your life, which is love, right? Do what you love and be the love bug. Yeah, be contagious, spread it out. This is an epidemic. Make it a virus, the virus of love. And we will move through this with divine grace and ease. And this is how we live our best spiritual life. So In closing, I want you to know that we are here for you. If you want us to pray with you, if you want us to go shopping for you, if you just want to talk, please call Jan at 760-434-9579. You can call her or text her, and we will set up a time that someone can pray with you. I would love to pray with you, so if you want me to pray with you, let her know, and I will pray with you. Or you can email your request at truthliving@aol.com, truthliving@aol.com. Also, we still have to pay for the Women's Center, and we still pay for our office. So if you have the fullness within you to share your abundance with your spiritual center, please mail a check to 3039 Jefferson Street, 3039 Jefferson Street, number D as in divine, 92008. And you can go to the website, cslcarlsbad.org. There is a PayPal there. So I want to share with you, if I can get this. I want to share with you a closing prayer by Reverend Bill. It is so beautiful. For some reason it's not coming up. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I invite you to close your eyes and go within as I share this prayer with you that was written by Reverend Bill Salisbury. And it knows that it knows, in the face of any and all situations, those that appear horribly dark and those that appear delightfully light. The true self stands untouched in the divinity that it is. That part of me that is aware of my connection, my divinity, and my oneness carries me forth even as a small self wallows in the dark or exalts in the light of the world conditions. I know that it is God working in, as, and through me in every situation. I know the universe continually conspires for my good. And I know that each and every circumstance and event in some integral part of my spiritual evolution. I know this for myself. I know this for all others. I know this for the world. I know this is the absence of accolades and apparent success because I know God is always at work. The true self loves all and loves everything and knows that my recognition of it will set me free. Life is good. I am grateful, and so it is. Amen. I love you. Thanks for watching.